All right, all right. I hope that is better. Tally, how you doing? Everyone is walking in. Sorry about that, guys. I had to draw the blinds. That helps the glare off my glasses. I hope everyone is doing fine on this Monday morning. How is everyone doing out there? Let me know, guys. Shoot me some hearts. Shoot me some emojis. All right. Hello, Irma Elena. Yes, I am the guy with the glasses. All right. If you are in YouTube or Periscope land, shoot me a comment. That's how I know that you guys are there as I'm restreaming this and I don't have a chat box. Louise, how you doing, buddy? Free Candy is in the house in Austin. Egan in Florida is also joining us. Oh, I'm the best, Irma. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I appreciate you. You're the best. Whew. All right. Yes, JM is over there in YouTube. Well, thank you for joining us today, JM. Let's talk. There's a lot going on. Every Monday, I'm pretty excited because it's the start of the week. I have plans to have a great workout, which I did. I woke up Mondays. I typically wake up before my alarm because I'm excited. I'm ready to roll. All right, Plano, Texas is in the house. And Joe Santor, welcome. And I'm just excited, right? I want to get after it. And then for months now, I look at my Twitter feed to see what's trending, what the news is, what's going on. And as you can imagine, as somebody who sees the media as the enemy of the people, and if you cannot understand that the media is gaslighting all of us and acting as if it was a pathological lover, a jilted pathological lover, because it's losing its listenership and no one cares except for a few people, you would realize just how toxic, horrible it is. And just because I think that way, or it's not even think I know so. You can stack the articles up and see their contradictions, hypocrisy, and just blatant lies. Anyway, my point being is to open up Twitter to look at the see what's going on news wise and just be inundated with garbage. It's frustrating to say the least. However, it's Monday, so the first thing that we're going to talk about is the latest Art of Charm podcast drop, and it is our episode with Dr. Stan Beechum. Stan Beechum is, I have my notes here pulled up, but Stan is, let me see here. Stan is an ultramarathon runner. He's also a sports psychologist looking to bring out the best for athletes in order to compete, to reach levels of physical, mental, and emotional connectedness so that people can reach their highest levels of performance. Now, I'm interested in this because as somebody who loves psychology, as somebody who wants to self-actualize, right? I'm looking to eventually, or the continued chase of being my best. And I also understand and realize that the more tricks and tools that I learn about myself and human behavior and how my mind works, the better my life is. So why wouldn't I take interest in sports psychologists who offer the best in mental exercises to enhance physical and emotional performances? And Stan, being an ultra marathon runner, I also take special interest in because I'm a huge David Goggins fan. Now, if you guys have been following this show, you know that we've interviewed David way back in the day when David was still in his infancy of coming up in the internet world and being the it guy for a while with his book, You Can't Hurt Me. And I love David. In fact, meeting David and interviewing him was probably one of the highlights of self-development. To interview somebody like that, I wanted to hang out with him all day. He was an amazing interview. He was a lot of fun, and he was very straightforward, which in today's world I find difficult to find. That seems to be farther and fewer between with people being straightforward. And it's refreshing now. And maybe some of you guys listen to this show because I do my best to be as straightforward as possible without getting caught up in PC insanity, but also trying to obey the rules of our authoritarian social media lords. Anyway, David Goggins was the first guy that opened the world to me of ultra marathon running. I sort of knew it was out there, but I didn't know it was as popular as it was, or how some of the athletes who get involved, how crazy they were. In fact, I think all ultra marathon runners are a special type of crazy. The special type of crazy I can get down with. That's how I feel about ultra marathon runners, because you don't live in an ordinary world with ordinary people once you get involved in something like that. You have transcended what most normal people understand. It is a world that not only that they do not exist in, they can't comprehend it. And ever since I got involved in self-development and started doing my own crazy, weird-ass development stuff, I've been called crazy more and more. I've even mentioned in the Stan Beechum episode that once I started this path, people started calling me an overachiever. Now, I don't consider myself as an overachiever. In fact, I wish I was much more productive during the days. Some days are good and some days are not so good. I fight for my life every day like everybody else does. But to the average person who didn't know me, to observe my day of waking up before, to wake up at 5:30, to start working out, to start swinging kettlebells, to start prepping for my show, to start thinking about the values that I'm going to engage in for that day, and the intellectual, emotional, mental, and physical fights that I engage in on a daily basis to try to be productive. And so to those people, they think I'm silly. I mean, my girlfriend thinks I'm utterly insane. She calls me an overachiever. It's not. And for anyone who gets involved in this, who wants to be productive, who enjoys their line of work, there's nothing overachieving about it. You just want to get engaged. You want to get dirty. You want to do some work. And as you stack routines, you can stack more and more productivity out of your day if you put together the right routines. The first thing you do is you start making your bed every morning. And then once that's routine, then you stack another thing on it. Maybe I'll start working out for 20 minutes. And then that 20 minutes goes to 30 minutes to 40 minutes to 50 minutes. And then next thing you know, you're in there for an hour. And the next thing you're doing is you're going out for a run. And myself, I am not an ultramarathon runner, but before COVID hit, I was running at least once or twice a week. My last long run on a Saturday afternoon was 17.5 miles. Now, I know that that's not a ultra marathon. That was me going out for a casual stroll. And my friends are like, what the hell are you doing? And I said, I'm going out for a run. And I knocked out 17.5 miles. Then they're like, what? Are you an overachiever? What are you doing? No, I'm doing what needs done. Once you get involved in this, you start to look at going into the unknown. And what Louis sends up a smiley face. He's a bike rider. Louis is a bike rider. He goes out there. He knows what it's like to ride or run farther than you ever have before. You go into the unknown. You go into the unknown physically, mentally, and emotionally. You're at a place where you've never been before. And because you've never been there before, you think in new ways. You act in new ways. You think in new ways. And I can tell you that it is some of the most enlightening moments of my life, because not only am I pushing myself, but as David Goggins says, you're unlocking chambers in your mind that you've never been to before. And so in those, I like to think that in those chambers, you start learning more about yourself. And if you hadn't gone there, you wouldn't receive the gains that you get from going there. So let me give you an example of this. When I was a teenager, there was a set of fantasy sci-fi books that I used to read. They were called Dragonlance novels, and they were a fantasy sci-fi land with wizards and elves. And, that's the kind of stuff that teenage boys read. Anyway, one of the characters in these fantasy books was a wizard named Razlin. And Razlin was born a bit sickly, but he had taken the magic and it was his special gift. And he had the opportunity to challenge himself on a quest, which if he survived it, would gain powers that most wizards would not achieve. But that adventure, that quest might also take his life. But what he would win, what he would stand to gain on the other side was more tempting to him than to sit there and know what was on the other side and not do it. And for a lot of people who get involved in physical tests of strength or self-development or these quests of learning about yourself, you know what's on the other side of those quests. You know what's on the other side of each marathon. You know what's on the other side of running or riding or any tests of strength that pushes you into a place you've never been before. All these people read books about how do you become confident? What do I need to do to become confident? You go into the unknown. You challenge yourself. You put yourself to where you're afraid and you sit in it and you live in it and you learn to not be afraid of the dark. There is an old quote. There's a quote by Falsa Doom from Conan the Barbarian. And it goes like this. Now they know why they're afraid of the dark, and now they know why they must fear the night. Now, this quote is one that always stuck in my head as a kid, and I understand what it means, right? It's to push yourself into places you've never been, to go into the dark, to learn. This is where all the growth is going to happen. And Stan, one of the first things that I had learned about Stan Beechum's work is the first question he asks all of his clients is, what's the farthest you've ever ran before? What's the farthest you've ever pushed yourself? Great. That's the first thing that I want you to do. I want you to go there. The first time I've ever seen David Goggins was his first appearance on Joe Rogan's podcast. And the next day I went out running farther than I've ever ran before. knowing the goal and the gold that came with going into that place. And then once I hit that mile into the unknown, laughing to myself, knowing I'm somewhere I've never been before, in my mind, mentally, emotionally, and physically, you're not going to get any more confidence and self-esteem and knowledge and wisdom than when you're in that place. And once you go, you want to spend more and more time there. And one of the things that I miss most about pre-COVID was being able to go out and run. LA has gotten a little bit weird lately. Hollywood's not as safe as it used to be. And some of my running trails have been taken from me during all this. Now, I moved to Vegas in 3 weeks. And that will be one of the first things that I do, was I will be looking for a new place to run. And hopefully that's one close to my apartment. I'm getting a lot of hearts today, Animal. I guess you guys are liking this topic. So what I want you guys to do is make sure you listen to the new episode with Dr. Stan Beechum, but think about opportunities to go into the unknown, to push yourselves. JM's like, what? Vegas? Yes, I'm going to Vegas, JM. I've had it. I've been in Los Angeles, Hollywood, to be precise, for over 10 years now. It's time for a change. I'm going to Vegas, my friend. Do you live in Vegas, JM? You can show me around. So I want everyone to think about that. Check out the Stan Beecham episode. It's really rad. He gave some great insights, talked about journaling, talked about the unknown. JM says you're leaving. You, Elon, Joe Rogan, and others. Well, the first time I have ever been mentioned in the same breath as Elon and Joe Rogan, and I'll take it. You know, I was never a big fan of Elon. I always thought he was one of those loony, eccentric billionaires. But in the last few months, he has won me over. And in fact, I haven't owned a car in over 15 years. Once I get set up in Vegas, if I was to get a car, I'd be looking at a Tesla. That's how much Elon has won me over. Tally says this unknown topic makes me want to clean out under my bed. Thanks for the motivation. Woo, talk about the unknown. Tally, I'd be very careful of you if I were you. Who knows what could lurk under a bed? If our childlike imaginations are any indication, I'd be very worried if I were you. So thank you, JM, for my first acknowledgement with Joe Rogan and Elon. Yeah, everyone's heading out. Even Joey Diaz is moving out of LA. Speaking of people hoofing it out of the big cities, I mean, New York's taking a hit. LA's taking a hit. I'm going for 6 months, and we'll see how things go. And if I enjoy Vegas, I'm going to be staying. Now, some other things I wanted to talk about. We have some time left. So I woke up this morning and I was checking my Twitter, and Chicago has went crazy, and the kids. Oh, thank you, Lindsay Marie. I appreciate that. And thank you for tuning in today. If you guys are on Periscope or YouTube, make sure you send me comments. That's the only way I know that you guys are there, because I'm re-streaming this. Patelia says you'll love Vegas. Yeah, I mean, I've spent a lot of time there, but when you go to Vegas, when you live in Los Angeles, it's one of those things where you party for, a whole weekend and then come home going, I'm never going to Vegas again. It's different living there, and I've been doing some research, and it sounds like a lot of fun. And my my temperament to want to explore and hike, and all those things seem to be abundant in Vegas. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to starting over. So I'm going to plan that too. Just like planning over and socially, not knowing many people. So anyway, I was checking out, I saw the stuff about Chicago and I saw mass looting and rioting in Chicago. When protest, are they protesters? I mean, I didn't see any signs or anything. I saw straight up just busting into buildings and taking stuff. So if I have that wrong, please let me know. And, so anyway, so I see all this insanity on my Twitter feed this morning, and I was like, oh, great, more of this. I don't want to get into the semantics of it. I hadn't done enough research to know what was going on. And so Dominic says, are you going to stop talking with 0 viewers? I don't know what that means, Dominic. I've had 0 viewers, and I still did the show. But we're on several platforms, and we have several, I don't know, there's usually about 150 to 200 views. It's difficult to state how many between everything. Anyway, so as I am watching this, I'm watching coordinated looting and rioting in Chicago in its Michigan Ave district. And these protests, organized looting, organized rioting, we've never had these sort of events in the past, because you have to remember that in the past, the only way to communicate with people was through the press and telephone networks. And we're now living in influencer culture. And because of influencer culture has we have connected networks of young people who are continuously tapped in to their network at all times. So with it, at all times, they are able to coordinate fast, quickly. And anyone who understands, I am obsessed with military history. And I know one of the most important attributes, concepts to military coordination, military mobilization is a big part about how many battles are fought and won. You get there with the fastest, with the most stuff, generally wins. And to be able to mobilize mass amounts of people quickly and strategically gives you quite the advantage. And people, I can understand how you could wake up this morning seeing what happened in Chicago and think to yourself, this is horrible, horrendous, abhorrent behavior. And being a bit confused by it as why is this taking place? We have to remember that never in history, it has only been in the last, decade, and not even shorter than that, of having massive connected organizations, networks that are able to mobilize in such amazing fashion. Now, we had seen a sort of a flash mob ideas in the past. they've been coming up over and over again, but we never seen them to the large scale effect as we're seeing now. And we're also seeing a large segment of our young population being on lockdown for months at a time. And I've already discussed this on the show I have discussed on this show what my sense of handling any sort of environmental catastrophe, because I lived in 12 years in North Carolina. Every year that there was a hurricane, we threw hurricane parties. It was just the effect of being young and dealing with fear. You throw a party. We are seeing that now. We are seeing here in Los Angeles, our dipshit mayor and governor, who've been quite ineffectual, now want to turn off the water and power to any residences that are throwing parties. Well, I got news for them. Parties are going off in the hills every night. We had our offices in the hills. We see them. I belong to multiple neighborhood networks for Los Angeles. JM says, what the F, tyrants? Yeah, dude. You're not going to be able to stop this kind of behavior. What you want to do is to appeal to these networks in some way. Well, first of all, if you wouldn't have put such strict measures on our city, then there would be no need for these parties. What do you think happened? We didn't need social media networks to create speakeasies during Prohibition. They naturally were put together through networks in the neighborhood of people who wanted to get together and discuss what is going on. The harder you clamp down, the more of this you're going to get. And notice the cities that this happened in. Another city with ridiculous lockdown measures where you have roving bands of young people just going ham because they're pissed. Now, we can bitch about the roving bands of young people all we want. And granted, listen, I'm not going to argue that looting, rioting, all these things is awful. It's wrong. But you try to put the clamp down on young people, and you will see the wrath of their energy, of their frustration, because young people have more energy than they know what to do with. And that energy has to be channeled somewhere. And if you think you're going to clamp down on sports, bars, clubs, any social gatherings, concerts, anything, well then, without any outlet, then you are going to see what youth can do. And they're going to go ham. Chaz, Earth to Moon says Chaz Dean showed his big party last Friday on Periscope. Yeah, these things are going to happen. I'm 46. In fact, at 46 years old, I ain't going anywhere. I'm going jogging. I'm going into the unknown. I'm not going to any parties. But I'll tell you, these kids are going to want to get off. And they're going to get off one way or another. And these people, these tyrants, as JM has put it, are detached from reality. And they haven't you're just going to tell people stay in their houses, you can't do anything, and young people are going to be like, oh, that seems fair. Are these people out of their minds? JM says, this is the republicized government. I like that. meaning they are proxies, representatives, not our leaders. No, these people aren't our leaders. These people can't lead themselves. It's ridiculous. JM, I'm with you, buddy. And so all of this stuff, I just find insane, abhorrent. What do you think's going to happen? You're going to take away, and you can say whatever you want about whoever you want, but the truth is, you've taken away all the outlets for young people, and you don't think that they're going to show you what their energy. Talk about, you're saying Chaz Dean showed his big party in Periscope. I don't know, was it 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago? There was an impromptu drag racing drift party on Hollywood and Highland, one of the most famous intersections in the world. At midnight, 200 people showed up with drag racing cars, and a fight broke out, and a young girl who was 17 years old was shot and killed. Joe Santor, don't you live in Chicago, buddy? You live in, I believe you live in the suburbs, right? And Joe says, especially when we have 3 to 4 months of good weather. Absolutely. That drives people bonkers. All right, guys, it's 9:02. I got a million things to do today. So that's my rant for today. I will be back tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. I hope you guys join me. Let's talk some more. If you haven't checked it out yet, make sure you check out our new episode with Dr. Stan Beechum. He is a high performance psychologist, works with sports teams and ultra marathon runners and other people who are looking to push themselves into the unknown and gain from it. Guys, just because there's a pandemic going on, just because we have lockdowns, just because we got a civil strife going on, make sure that you find opportunities to create and to push yourself into the unknown and learn a little something about yourself. Why? So you can be better, so your world can be better, so that you can make the people around you better. Guys, it was great seeing you all today. I'm very excited to have a great Monday. And if you enjoy what I've been talking about, and you want to go into the unknown with AOC and develop out your X Factor in our year-long mentorship program, well, just text me on Insta or Twitter, message me X Factor or that's it, or mentorship. Just shoot me a message and I'll get you the information. All right, guys. JM, you take care. Everyone, have a wonderful day. Dominic, who's yelling at me over in YouTube, have a good one. Lindsay Marie, have a good one. Free Candy, Charlie, all you guys, Joe Santor. Yes, actually moved closer to the city. Wow, you got some stories to tell me, Joe. I will see you all tomorrow.